Hello, my friend, and welcome to Fear into Faith. This is our Miracles, Signs, and Wonders series. And today I've got a story for you about an encounter that happened at a coffee shop counter. My name is Summer Day. I'm your host, and with me today is Natasha Shuerman. Hello, Natasha Shuerman.
Hello, darling.
Hello, fabulous. How are you doing?
So great. Thank
I'm so
you.
glad that you're here.
I'm so happy to be here.
All right, now, before we get to the story of your encounter, we're just going to talk a little bit about you, who you are, where you're from. I know a lot of these answers, but let's unpack them anyway. Where are you from right now?
Yes, right now, Texas.
What part?
Fort Worth.
And where are you originally from?
We grew up in Nebraska. However, we raised our family in Washington State.
And then what'd you do a few years ago?
And then we gave everything away and traveled all around the U.S.
For how many years?
For about 3 years.
Gave everything away. What'd you travel in?
We went Airbnb to Airbnb. And
Traveling in your?
in our van.
In your minivan.
It looks just like yours.
It does. Matching minivans. Yes. I love your story. Okay, if people know my story, they know God told us to pick up your mat and walk, sell everything.
Yes.
We traveled for almost 3 years, full-time in an RV.
Yes.
And I think just about halfway through that journey, met you on a Facebook challenge, and you left almost the exact same time frame, but you didn't travel in an RV. You traveled from Airbnb to Airbnb.
Yes, we did.
You're a special kind of crazy just like me.
Yes.
How did this ever come up as a thing that your family was going to do?
I've always wanted to travel. Our kids' names are all place names, and so I never...
How many kids do you have?
We have 3 kids.
3 kids, and their names are?
Capri, Roman, and Oliver.
Okay, and how old are they?
Yes, they are 8, 6, and 3.
8, 6, and 3.
So
were you pregnant when you started traveling, or?
Our youngest was 4 months old.
4 months old.
Yes.
Wow. And I mean, you always wanted to do this. Did you?
Yeah.
I mean, Airbnbs didn't always exist, but did you always think you wanted to just travel in a car and then just stay somewhere?
Yes. It was either get married or travel overseas. And so I chose to get married to my amazing husband almost 14 years ago.
Love it.
And yeah, we knew that we wanted to travel. So when COVID hit and we couldn't go outside, God told us to give everything away. And so within the matter of 2 weeks.
So yours was because COVID happened. You were like, well,
yeah,
I guess we'll just change our life.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you got rid of everything in 2 weeks?
We got rid of almost everything. The things that we didn't get rid of ended up getting ruined in a flood.
Okay, hold on. We're not going to skip over that part. You got rid of almost everything in 2 weeks. What happened? Flood? What?
Yeah, so we built our own little trailer and kept our favorites, but we knew God said give everything away. He actually said to sell
a trailer.
And we didn't sell it. We started giving it away. Yeah, we built a trailer on a wheel because we knew we didn't know where we were going.
So how do you build the trailer?
Yeah, my husband and my 4-year-old at the time had power tools.
Wood, the power tools, built a trailer, and so the things you didn't give away, the special things you put in there.
The wedding dress, the pictures, my favorite paintings. And then when we opened it up just a few months later, it had a leak, and so it was all molded, rusted, and destroyed. So...
Oh my gosh!
So we had literally...
You said that with such a smile on your face. You're like, oh well, you're like the living Pollyanna. Like, oh well, it doesn't matter. Just my wedding dress destroyed.
Yeah.
So you guys created it to travel, but you kind of stored everything in there for a few months.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it all got flooded and completely ruined.
Yeah, other than our pots and pans. We got to keep those.
Were you upset at the time? I mean, you don't seem upset now,
No,
but
I
you
wasn't.
weren't even upset.
No, because I knew God told us to give it away, and I almost laughed because the verse about moss, rust, destroy, right? And you can't take anything with you.
So you were like, oh, I see what you did there, Jesus. You told me to just get rid of it. I didn't. So you're just like, well, we'll flood it.
My kids laugh because every time something breaks, I get excited because it's one less thing to have. And so when you have less stuff, you have less worries, and it's just enjoyable. In a whole new way.
I feel like everyone should live like you, Natasha. The world would be just a much happier place. You're like, oh, and then my stuff was ruined. There was a flood. Like, can you please bottle that and sell it or teach it? I don't even know what. I just love that about you. Well, I know we're gonna backtrack reverse, but we got to share another part of the story because I think it's so powerful. So you guys traveled for 3 years. We met, and I partially almost, I think, as a joke, when I met you and I met your daughter, Capri. She was like 7 years old at the time.
Yes.
cute as a button. She's on a Zoom call. And I'm like, you guys are traveling. I hear your story of traveling. You hear mine. I'm like, well, maybe one day the Lord will have us stop traveling at the same time. And then we'll live next to each other. Like, half as a joke. Because, I didn't know you, but I also was like, wow, they're the exact kind of family we would want to live by. And then, I'm traveling through Fort Worth almost a year ago, and I felt the Holy Spirit tell me, sit up and pay attention. And I thought we were going to move and live in Tennessee. And then I remember telling my husband, something's going on here. The Lord is moving. We need to pay attention. And then we kept traveling, went to Tennessee. I didn't tell anybody, but I kept feeling like, I think I'm supposed to live in Fort Worth. I think I'm supposed to. And I told my husband, I'll know when we go back.
Yeah.
Well, in the process of us getting back, you end up there. And the Lord tells you guys what?
He told us to stay. And I said, out of all the states we've been to, you want us to stay in Texas?
Not even Texas, but
in
Fort Worth.
Yes.
And so then next time we're back around to check it out, I thought you guys were just passing through again. I thought you were just staying at an Airbnb for like 2 weeks. And I remember I came over to where you were living, and it was really close to the area that we were coming back to check out. And you're like, no, actually the Lord told us to stay. And I'm like, what?
Yes.
The Lord told us to stay. Are you kidding me? And now we live 5 minutes apart. So nuts.
When you first told me we were going to be family friends, I'm like, yeah, okay.
You're like, okay, creepy woman I just met.
Because our stories were so similar. And then when it happened, it's again a laughing situation where all right, God,
no, it's literally hilarious. And I promise we're going to get to the miracle story, but I know there's another part that happened lately that is absolutely unreal, and it has to do with the clothing that you and I are wearing. We have got to share this story. So both of us finally are permanent.
Yes.
Neither one of us own very much clothing at all.
Yeah.
And when all of that happened, this whole TV show opportunity came out, and we're a special kind of crazy. Most people do 10 or 20 episodes of a TV show their first time out.
Yes.
And the Lord's like, no, I want you to do 364 episodes. And I own 6 outfits.
Yeah.
And I remember one of my first thoughts, I think I even told my husband, I'm gonna need to get a whole bunch of clothing. I don't own enough clothes to do a TV show.
Yes.
And at that exact same time, you didn't even know yet, I think, about the TV show.
No.
What happened with you and this estate sale and all
I
that?
texted you, and we couldn't decide on a kitchen table. When you don't have anything and you have to fill a whole house, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And so I found out about all these clothing, tens of thousands of pieces of clothing. And I said...
Well, it was an estate sale because your husband went to go look at gardening stuff?
Yeah, he looked at gardening supplies.
And you just happened to come in and saw they had a lot of clothes.
Yes, and I heard one story of a mom with kids that couldn't shop. And I said, that's not fair. What are you going to do with the rest of it? They didn't know. And I knew at that moment it was for such a time as this. And so I had created this thing called Esther Clothing. And my goal was 100 women.
Okay, we have to backtrack. So essentially it was a estate sale.
Yes.
And they were 2 sons. There was no daughter. They weren't married. And they had no idea what to do with their mom's clothing.
Yes, which was
Which was high-end, beautiful clothing. This shirt, your skirt.
Everything.
And it was literally 300 pairs of shoes. I mean, it was like an entire store that this woman had acquired. Many things brand new, tags, fine silks, leather, everything.
Probably 3 to 5 apartment stores full of clothes.
Yeah.
And so we brought it all in our house.
And I remember you're like, do you want to come over and go shopping? And I'm like, what do you mean come over and go shopping? You're like, well, it's a long story, but I've acquired all of this clothing. All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to take a break, my friend. We'll be right back right after this.
Cornbread, cobbler, ribs, pulled pork. Nothing says home like amazing barbecue. At Ken's Hardwood Barbecue, we have the best fresh, savory meats, sides, and desserts, perfected from 4 generations of family recipes. Voted Southern Arizona's best barbecue. Ken's Hardwood Barbecue is the perfect place for lunch, dinner, takeout, or your catered event. Come down and taste us today or visit kenshardwoodbarbecue.com and place your order. Your mouth will thank you. Visit Ken's Hardwood Barbecue now.
Science fiction fans, Volume 3 of the Richard series by Michael W. Hickman won a big award. Voted Best Sci-Fi Space Opera for 2023 by AudiobookReviewer.com. And now, Volume 4 is available. Richard, War Erupts by Michael W. Hickman. Science fiction lovers, read or listen to the complete audiobook series at Audible.com, Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, or RichardBooks.com.
Well, I'm back in the studio with my friend Natasha Shuerman. I feel like we're just 2 girls gabbing. Forget there's even because there's even cameras here. We are going to get to your miracle story, but I think this clothing story in itself is a miracle story.
Absolutely.
We left off where you literally texted me like, hey, do you want to come shopping?
Yes.
And I show up and your living room literally is packed, jam-packed with clothing racks. 300 plus pairs of shoes, 300 plus pairs of pants, like dresses and shirts packed on these racks so tight you almost can't even see what they look like. And then you're like, oh, and by the way, there's 27 tubs, like almost floor to ceiling. How many tubs were there?
There was 43 tubs.
Oh, 43
and
tubs.
Everything was full.
Everything was full.
Packed full.
And I know that you got all this clothing, pennies on the dollar. The men that inherited everything for their mom, they were just happy to like see it go to a new home.
Yeah.
And then you had a vision. The Lord said Esther clothing, and your vision was to have 100 women that you literally just wanted to bless for free. Just come.
Yeah.
And how many women have come through your Esther store?
We've had 109 women come, but he's not done.
I know, because I was just there yesterday, and it only looks like maybe half of it is gone.
Yes.
Yesterday, you're like, get more. I got like 19 more outfits.
Yeah.
It was unreal. And so I love how the Lord shows up in diligence. You and I both, we got rid of like pretty much all of our stuff, lived that way for 3 years. Neither one of us had any clothes. I had no idea there was a TV show on the horizon. I mean, this is even like I'm wearing your jewelry. I didn't even have a lot of jewelry. I didn't even have like stuff to happen. And I've shopped, I think, 5 times now at your store, and every time getting new stuff. Such a blessing for me. I now walk into the closet where we're staying, and it's starting to get full. Whereas before it's like this walk-in closet, and I'm like, here's my walk-in closet. I don't even know how you fill the rest of it. And the same with you. You're in a house for the first time, and I got to go up to your beautiful closet and see it all full.
Well, what's amazing is that I read that verse. I said, God, you will clothe the lilies of the field, and you will much not clothe us even greater, something like that, right?
Yeah.
And I prayed that morning. I said, God, you clothe the lilies of the field. When are you going to clothe me? And then I closed my closet with my 8 little hangers, master closet, and I left. And that was the day. So
I didn't realize that was the day. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That was the day.
It's such a gift.
And then you go.
Yeah.
And I know you still have like lots of jewelry and other stuff, and you've just been blessing women.
Yeah.
And he's still not even done. We told the makeup artist in the other room, we're like, we know you're doing our makeup today, and would you like to go shopping? Tell us just one or two of your favorite stories of women coming, because you have said that they leave, they're crying, they leave transformed. Size doesn't matter at your store. Talk a little bit about that.
We tell women that you are not a size, you are a masterpiece. And that instantly sheds women of the size pain that we have so much. Women that should fit into a 000 fit into the largest. Women that should fit into the large fit into the smalls. It doesn't make sense, and women will fall on their knees. Deliverance is happening. One of my favorite stories was a woman, she said, don't touch this part right here. I said, why? And she goes, don't ask. Well, she'd been there for an hour and a half, and I said, can I pray for you? And she goes, it's been 10 years, and she had a trauma happen, and none of the clothes could touch her. The very last dress that I tied on her, I tied around her waist because she was healed of it. And so she it was the same size as the size that I wear. She wears a size 16 pants. I'm a size 4 pants. Same size dress, same dress. It's a miracle dress. And so when she put it on, you could just tell the washing, the healing was there. 10 years over clothing.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh my God.
It's one of the 109.
I mean, I feel like your clothing store is such a miracle store.
Yeah.
Such a miracle story. And I've been there 5 times, and I started telling you, I was like, this is like the oil jars that overflowed. These clothes are multiplying. Because you would tell me 80 women have gone through, and I was like, Natasha, it doesn't look like a single piece. And they would leave with full bags or full totes, completely full.
Yeah.
And then you and I specifically, a lot of the shirts they wear have this little silver ring on it. I fell in love with them, and I said, if you see any more, let me know.
Yeah.
And then you and I shopped, and we looked and looked. I think we found like one more. Looked and looked. Yeah. And then you multiple times went through all the shirts. And then suddenly, I can't explain it, but I just found 3 more. Yeah. And I had asked for a pink one and a black one. And you're like, you're never going to guess. I found a black one, I found a pink one, and I found a red one. And you're like, there's no way those were in there before.
Yeah.
Clothing just kept showing up and showing up. I love it. I love it. And you've had 109 women now. Can't wait to see what else God's going to do.
Yeah, me too.
Well, you're such a testament. I never in my wildest dreams would I have thought when I'm done RVing that the Lord would restore. I mean, the clothes that you've given me, I feel like I have finer clothes now than I had when I had sold everything.
Me too. You can't get these clothes. We don't make it like that anymore.
No, and I've
silk.
never owned this much jewelry at all. I've really never owned this much jewelry at all. I've never really been a jewelry person, but now being able to have jewelry that looks good on TV and matches and all this stuff, like, what a blessing.
Yes.
And then we should probably share, the other day there's a lady who, she drove up from San Antonio 5 hours, came to see me at church. You happened to be there. And she's like, Summer, I want to support your TV show. I want to help you get funds. I have tens of thousands of dollars of clothing and jewelry that I want to donate to you. And I was like, what is the Lord doing? And I told her, I was like, I don't know, maybe we need to talk to Natasha, because apparently she has this clothing store that never ends. It just continues to grow and to bless people. So I'm excited to see what the Lord's going to do next. Well, let's talk a little bit about your story in the book. Your story where you had an encounter at the coffee counter. How long ago was that?
It was in 2014, I believe.
2014.
Yeah.
And, you know, we have a lot of memories that we forget and things that happen. Is this one of those experiences that it's like etched in time? You remember every detail as if it was yesterday?
I remember every feeling, absolutely. But the details, the exact words, I couldn't tell you. It was just washing, nonstop washing.
All right.
Yeah.
So it's in 2014. What time of day was it?
It was in the morning.
In the morning.
Yeah,
And
about
where were
11
you?
o'clock. I was at a coffee shop just 2 blocks away from me, and I always wanted to be a barista.
You always wanted to be a barista?
I love serving. I love coffee shop. I love the experiences because it's so much more than coffee.
Yeah.
It's counseling. It's friendship. It's family.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. And what was happening that day?
So that day I didn't normally work on Tuesdays, and that day I went to a Bible study fellowship, and I remember hearing, if you're used where God calls you, then you're doing ministry. But I knew it meant in the church, right? We often hear it's in the church is where your ministry is. And so when I go to the coffee shop, I knew God called me there, but I said, what are you doing? I'm not. One guy mentioned, when I get a good tip, I'll give it to you, and you can get out of this place. I said, but I wanted to be here. Why would I want to leave? So I put my apron on, and it was at that moment that I walked down and had that experience where the guy was coming up to me. It was that thought where I said, what am I doing here? Can I be used by God here? Was I misled? Did I not really hear from him? Do I really even know anything?
Because you really felt like your ministry was supposed to be at the coffee shop. It was supposed to look different. It wasn't supposed to kind of just, you know, be in the church setting like everybody else thinks?
Well, I knew I was in corporate. I got my dream job right after college, and it was all the great bells and whistles, but it didn't feel right.
What kind of dream job?
It was a marketing manager for an international corporation.
Wow. And did you leave that to go be a barista?
I left it. Yes, I left it just the year prior.
Wow.
And I had another job, an opportunity that moved us to Washington, but I didn't feel right in that one either. So I left that one, and I knew that it was coffee. It was the cultured environment of making people feel seen when they think they're just getting clothing. They're just getting coffee.
You really are against the grain. You're like, I get rid of all my stuff. A flood doesn't bother me. I leave a great paying corporate job.
Yes.
I got to imagine you had to have taken at least a 50% pay cut.
More. Yeah, absolutely.
So you're making like 10% what you made before.
I go up to my husband every time, like,
hey, by the way, I pretty much want to make no money and be a barista.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. And he's like, okay.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to pause that right there. We're going to get back to the rest of the miracle story right after this.
In a world where challenges echo, one woman's resilience becomes a symphony of triumph. Jennifer's story is a spectacle of transformation. Abandoned and scared, she rises, turning pain into power. This book is your guide with the tools she used. An epic narrative of hope, resilience, and breaking free. Breaking the Bonds, a book by author Jennifer Marcus. Available on Amazon.
Are you stuck? Do you feel like you need to move forward but aren't sure how or where to start? We've got you covered. At You Can Be You, we'll be that coach, teacher, and mentor that you need. We'll help you break the bonds holding you to your past so you can move into your bright future. Visit youcanbeyou.org, click Get Help, and take the first step into your new future. Do you want to help someone break through? Join our community of changemakers and unlock endless possibilities. Become a donor, sponsor, or join us and become a mentor or coach. Let's break the bonds at youcanbeyou.org.
All right, so we are back with Natasha, and she's talking about how she had this cushy marketing corporate job.
Yeah.
I don't know how much, but I'm just going to guess you're like, hey, I'm making $100K. You know what, hubby? I'd like to take a 90% pay cut and just work for $10K and be a barista.
Yes. My goal was to get up in the company, but I knew that in order to be a servant and like understand the base of the company, I had to start at the cup, not at the relationship.
Come on,
and that
that's
mattered
good.
so much to me. And when you go to places, the server is what really brings the best.
Yeah, true.
But that specific day, I had to paste the smile on. I didn't know what I was doing.
I can never imagine a day where you had to paste a smile on.
It wasn't. I had to tie my apron.
Yeah.
It wasn't pasted
Like,
smile.
I had to tie my apron because I was feeling uncertain that day.
Tied it a little tighter.
I love that you knew to leave your corporate job. You're a special kind of crazy, as am I. But you know what? My pastor at my home church says it's going to take someone crazy like you, somewhere to change the world. And I know at break we're laughing, going, "This really is funny. We sold all of our stuff, and you can't outgive God."
Yeah.
And He just takes you from glory to glory. And now it's like, hey, we gave everything away. Hey, go ahead and have clothes. And now I'm like, I want to see the Lord just give us both new houses. Why not? Why not? When you say yes to the Lord, you should believe for the impossible. All right, so we're at your barista day, and that's the day you started to question maybe you're wrong. You started to question, like, did I really hear from you? Is this really what you want me to do?
Can you really use me?
Can you really use me?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And then there's a guy that walks right to the counter. Like,
Right to
I
the counter.
didn't hear a door open. I didn't hear the bell, which is really loud. I heard nothing. He locks eyes on me, and he's just standing there, and he's almost floating towards me.
Wow.
And I look at him, and I'm smiling. I was happy. Like, none of my cares mattered anymore. I knew I was there for that man.
Wow.
And he started washing me with all these words. Your smile is radiant. You're glowing. And he wasn't stopping on his compliments. And it wasn't that weird kind of compliments.
Yeah, it wasn't like creepy, trying to pick you up. It
Not
just
at
was
all. No, he was just literally washing me with all these beautiful words. And I knew at that point it wasn't, I don't know, it just felt different, right?
Yeah.
And so at that moment I said, thank you. And I turned to my coworker after he said it. And I said, did you hear this? And he kind of laughed like, what are you talking about? And I look back and the guy is gone. But I had saw him walk into the cream station, which wasn't that far. And it wasn't but a second of turning, right?
Yeah.
And I ran to the bathroom because I knew he wasn't outside. There was no bell. He wasn't there. He was nowhere in the lobby. He was nowhere to be seen.
And then I think in your story, did you run outside to go see if he was there?
I did. I did. But the bell rang, so I knew, okay. Yeah, he was nowhere to be seen.
So this guy shows up at the counter, almost floating.
Yeah.
No bell ringing when he goes
No.
in. But you probably weren't thinking clearly about that.
No.
And then you turn for a split second, and he's completely gone.
Yeah.
No bell ringing.
Yeah, but the last thing he said was, you are radiant, and he asked me a question. He said, you have a faith about you, don't you? And I said, yes, sir, I do. Very proud moment, because that's why I was there. I wanted to share God's love with everybody. And he said, I can tell. And it was something with radiance and eternal glow, and he just, all the words you would ever want to hear, from.
So why do you think you didn't
God.
hear that man come in or out?
I believe he was an angel.
Come on.
Right? I have no other explanation.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know at the time. You've been through churches. I didn't know that encouragement was a gift.
Okay.
And so I never knew what my gift was. I was comparing, my husband's an amazing singer, dancer, artist. He has everything, and it's polished, beautiful skills. And have you ever been there where you sometimes ask, but I'm not like them. I'm not like them, right?
Yeah.
And it was that moment where, but I left this for this. And I realized that encouragement was the gift. And I've been getting it. I mean, my husband and I go back and forth. That's what makes our marriage so beautiful, is it's encouragement nonstop. And I never questioned my gift anymore after that.
Yeah.
That you can go up to somebody and say, thank you for working, which our kids loudly say everywhere, at every place we go,
So
any
good.
cashier.
Thank you for working.
Thank you for working. Yeah, because it's
Beautiful.
the servants
I'm
that
gonna
really
steal that. I'm
started.
going to teach that to
Please
my
do.
kids. That's
Please
good.
do.
Thank you for working.
Yeah, because that's really, the servants are the ones, right? Jesus came as the servant. So I often feel like it was at that point where I realized that's where we're called to be, no matter where we are. Whether you're in the big level or you're what seemingly says the small level.
Yeah.
It's
So
my
when
favorite.
did you realize that this guy was an angel? Did you realize right away, or was it something you thought about later?
After he left, I just giggled and smiled inside, and I was like, God, thank you. And I didn't question my ability there anymore.
Yeah. Did you tell anybody, I think there was an angel, I think there was an angel here?
No.
No, you just kind of were like,
Well, because I had a colorful past, and then when I became a believer, many people see you as this polished, perfect person, but I very much wasn't, and so I didn't want to bring that on. I wanted them to often know that I'm a person that has a past that can relate.
Wow.
And so at the coffee shop, I had to balance how much do I share and how much do I preach, or how much do I share and how I just love, right? You just go in and you love people no matter where you are. So.
I love that you threw out you don't have a polished past.
Yeah.
I think that you come across as somebody, like I called you Pollyanna earlier. I feel like you come across as somebody who's naturally just positive and radiant and smiling and encouraging.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to think that you had a time when you didn't feel that way.
Yeah.
You think that's why the Lord uses you?
I always felt happy and smiley, and that was something that you got to call out in me when we met, was why can't you be too happy? And that was something that I always thought was a bad thing, because people would always choose out of relationship because they couldn't measure up to me. And I never understood why they tried to. Why can't we just be us? And I can't try. I tried to be sad once, like really sad, and it was the worst 2 weeks. And I had every right to be sad, but it just...
I tried to be sad once, and it was like the worst 2 weeks, so I was like, I'm giving that up. I'm never going to try that again.
I mean, like, internally, you know what I mean? There's days, there's moments as moms, right, as a human. But like the stain in it, I can't sit in it. Like if somebody says I got in a car accident, I'm like, but who was there? And like when stuff happens, I'm like, look at the community coming together with the car accident. Look at the people praying for each other. There's such a difference in how you see things.
You're reminding me of when we met. It was during one of our Facebook challenges. And I remember you said that thing about some people feel like I'm too positive. And I remember I laughed because I was like, are you kidding me? We live in a world right now where there is not enough positivity, especially on social media. There is so much negativity. There's so much cancel culture. There's so many people just looking almost like for something to prowl on. They're looking for something to be negative about. So I remember I challenged you. I was like, Natasha, what if you just would be okay with being the most positive person on all of Facebook? Like we could give you an award. Like, somebody has to be the most...
did.
I know they did. Somebody made you an award. Somebody has to be the most positive person on Facebook. Like, why not have it be you? And I really didn't know you very well. I had no idea about, you know, all of these things. And I think it's so true. I give you permission to be like the most positive person on the whole planet that anyone has ever met. Because somebody has to be. And we need that. We need that in the world right now.
And that's what happened at Starbucks. There would be people at 5 a.m., no, 4 a.m. We started at 4 a.m. And there was a lady that had come through the drive-thru. And she says, honey, I go out of my way, miles, just to come to you. I said, why? And she goes, because I work in the suicide hotline. And your light brings me through the day. And that's the type of environment that you get to be in when you're a server, when you're in those positions that we don't highlight. Like that's the real servanthood. Sorry. It was amazing.
Sweet girl.
It's just, it's incredible to give people encouragement and hope in that way. And in positions that we have control over how you act and show up, regardless of what your past is, regardless of how you are in your job. Like your job is to be there to serve the mission of that company and do it well, because that person needs it more than you need to be heard.
And you never know who you're going to reach. I mean, you never know if your smile is going to be the one for the person working at the suicide hotline. Wow. Wow. That's powerful. Well, my friend, we're literally at time. It's gone by so fast because we could just hang out forever. But thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being wild and crazy, saying yes to the Lord so that, you know, I could also get a new wardrobe just in time for this TV show. Thank you for being wild and crazy and such a great example. You're a great mom. Your kids are amazing. Your husband's amazing. You're a blessing in our lives. So thank you.
I received that. Thank you, Summer, for everything you've done.
You're most welcome. And I just want to pray over you. I want to encourage you right now. I want to encourage that you might never know who's going to come across your path. You don't know if it's somebody working for the suicide hotline. I just pray right now that you would be encouraged, my friend, to go out and be that positive that positive word for somebody else, to go out and be that smile in the darkness. I pray that the Lord would just shine a light upon you today as he has for Natasha, that the joy of the Lord would be your strength. And I'll see you next time.
If you want to amplify your mission and your cause, Be sure to watch Giving Out Loud right here on Zandra TV.